Joe Biden is a bad dude, and he hangs out with a bunch of bad guys.
What is he, corn pop?
No, I mean, I don't know what's going through his head, but in a recent press gaggle, he talked about how terrible things would be if Republicans were voted out of office and completely dominated by Democrats. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about a Republican Party that is going after Biden and making excuses for Donald Trump breaking the law in asking a foreign government to investigate Biden, right? Or to make an announcement about an investigation to Biden to hurt his chances of getting elected. But Biden turns around and he tells the press ridiculous things like this. It's not like there's gonna be some great epiphany and people are gonna wake up and go, oh my God, I'm now a Democrat. And if you hear people on the rope line saying, I'm a Republican, I say, stay a Republican. Vote for me, but stay a Republican because we need a Republican Party.
So before we go to the rest, and it does get actually worse than that, think about how selfish that is. Stay a Republican and vote against all other Democrats, but vote for me. If you vote for me, I don't really care that you vote against all other Democrats. I don't care that you support tax cuts for the rich, needless wars, torture, you name it. I don't care as long as me, as long as I get your vote. Then I want you to be a Republican otherwise. Now look, I'll tell you why, but let's hear the rest of the quotes. And I'll tell you, there's two reasons why Biden loves the idea of the Republican Party.
Now, BuzzFeed reporters were part of this gaggle, and they write that Biden later added that he's concerned about what would happen if the Republican Party were totally clobbered.
I'm not concerned.
Here's his direct quote. I'm really worried that no party should have too much power. You need a countervailing force. Okay, but what if the countervailing force is full of fascists who make excuses and try to cover up for a criminal president? What about that?
And we're not in any danger of that. The Republicans are in charge right now. It's not like, oh, poor Republicans. They have the White House. They have a monster in the White House, and they have a Senate. What are you talking about? And he makes it seem like the Democratic Party is so dominant. These poor little Republicans, I hope they can manage, right? In reality, before Trump got elected, the decade before that, while Obama and Biden were in charge, by the way, the Democrats lost 1,000 seats nationally and on the state level. That is a stunning record of failure. And then they lost to Donald Trump. And by the way, then they lost the House and the Senate at the time. So I think that the Republicans are fine. You don't have to look out for them. So then that leads to the question of why the hell does Joe Biden look out for Republicans at every turn? So there's two answers to it. One is conscious and the other is subconscious. So consciously, Joe Biden doesn't think he's a bad guy. I'd be surprised if he thought that. He doesn't think like that it's a wrong thing to do work with Strom Thurmond, who was a segregationist, et cetera, as he did earlier in his career. He brags about it. He bragged about it in this campaign. Oh, I loved working with Strom Thurmond, who was a segregationist. Now, he doesn't say that he agreed with Strom Thurmond, although on things that they worked together, they did agree. And Joe Biden, as always, is Biden 101, gave Strom and the Republicans more than they got back, always. But it's his nature. Biden, you like him, you don't like him, you should know this, right? His instinct is bipartisanship. So, and for 40 years, Joe's been doing those deals, and almost every one of those deals, the Republicans got more and the Democrats got either a little less or a lot less. The most famous one is when he extended the Bush tax cuts and made them permanent, and Republicans got 94% of the tax cuts renewed forever, okay? So he's 6% Biden. And so that's his nature. If you vote him into office, do not get surprised when he makes deals that the Republican Party is ecstatic about, because that's the entirety of his career, and he brags about it. So that's the good part, right? That's his conscious, like, he doesn't mean to do harm, he just sucks at this, and is old school in thinking, yeah, you work with segregationists, you work with monsters, you work with the Republicans, you empower them, and we call it bipartisanship, and the press has been patting me on the back for 40 straight years for when I did those deals, right? He's been rewarded for that over and over again through the media. I'm gonna get to the second part.
No, you're right, in that he's received positive reinforcement, which probably helps him to think that he's not a bad person for working with someone like Thurmond on, the busing issue or whatever it is, right? But I'm sure if you had a conversation, and I know this is provocative because I'm kind of comparing him to Trump, but just stay with me. I'm sure if you had a conversation with Trump, he would say that he's a good person. He doesn't think he's a bad person, but he's a bad person.
Yeah, except as I've discovered recently, some people are actually quite aware that they're bad people.
Right.
And so Trump, of course, will say, "Oh, I'm the best. I'm the most moral person you'll ever know. No one knows more about morality than I do," right? But you know secretly he doesn't think that. Okay, he knows.
And also, look, I know Biden had been in government forever, right? Decades and decades and decades. And maybe at one point there were reasonable Republicans and bipartisan made sense on some issues. But like, how do you look at the era we're in today as you're being attacked by Republicans nonstop, right? While they're trying to game the system so you have no shot at getting elected. How do you look at those people and say like, I am worried about what would happen if they all got voted out of office? No, you know what would happen? Democracy would prevail, right? Like that's what would happen.
So I'm gonna get to that at the end too. So now the subconscious reason, they have the same donors. So why does that lead to a subconscious bias in favor of Republicans? Because he's in a bubble where, remember, he is talking to really wealthy people and representatives of corporations nonstop on the phone. He's spending, like all politicians, at least half of his time raising money, right? So he's making those calls and they're all telling him, "Oh man, what we really love about you is the way you work with the Republicans." Now remember, why? Because they all love the tax cuts that they got, both under Bush and Trump and under Obama, because Obama's the one that made him permanent. So they keep giving him positive reinforcement. "Oh, Joe, you're right. I mean, that Warren and that Sanders, they're monsters the way they don't want to work with Republicans. The way you work with Republicans is great, Joe." And so it's all those donors leading to the same conclusion. Give us everything we want. And a lot of times it's different donors, but with the same incentive, give me tax cuts. And sometimes it's literally the same donors. They'll give to Kevin McCarthy, then they'll turn around and give to Joe Biden. And so that's how they maintain this system. So that's what drives it. In terms of how wrong he is, look, we progressives often have to say things that are so rudimentary because the corporate media keep telling you that the emperor has clothes on. The Democrats are the other party. They are the opposing party to the Republicans. They are not the same party, and nor should they be. The job of the Democrats is to defeat Republicans. Now, when you turn it around, everyone agrees the job of the Republicans is to defeat Democrats. Everybody's like, well, of course. That's why the Republicans are so mean to Democrats, and that's why they say, "Oh, I'd never be a liberal. Liberals are the worst. God damn liberals." They'll say, they've been saying my whole life for 40 straight years. I never see any Republicans going, "Man, I cherish the Democratic Party. I'd really like to work with them more. I hope they're healthy," right? Now, Biden's not just some random two-bit guy running for state office. He's running to be the leader of the Democratic Party, the president of the United States. And he's saying, well, man, how can I help the Republican Party? This is exactly what's wrong with our politics. It's an uneven playing field where the donors push everyone towards Republican priorities like tax cuts. And even the head of the guy who is currently leading the national numbers to be the head of the Democratic Party says he can't wait to help the Republican Party. It's madness, and it's exactly what's wrong with the Democratic Party and exactly what's wrong with Joe Biden. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.